How do we plan to market Hyrox Australia? Actually, hang on. Is that even the right question to ask? What we're really asking ourselves is, how do we plan to build credibility, connect with our customers, and promote the business in a way that has reach, is relevant, is effective, and cost-effective? This short video showcases one of the levers we plan to use. What is it? Video podcasting. Why? Well, we'll get to that. But now that I've delivered this episode position a monologue, here's what the intro could sound like.
The fitness world has changed as we know it because Hyrox gives everyday gym goers their own race to train for.
It bridges the gap between functional fitness and endurance. Hyrox should be ignored at your own peril.
Hyrox makes fitness a lifestyle as much as it does a competition for everybody.
I don't think there's anything that's having a bigger impact in the field of fitness than Hyrox.
It's the World Series of fitness racing. Hyrox has opened my eyes to what's possible.
Welcome to the Hyrox Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Locke, and in this episode, we're going to talk about why our intention to start a Hyrox podcast in Australia could, in fact, be a bigger global opportunity for the overall brand. Let's start with a couple of quick statistics. Now, last year, the overall number of monthly podcast listeners around the world rose by more than 15%. That means more than 380 million listeners a month. Of that, over 100 million were Americans with both sports and health and fitness in the top 5 of the most popular podcast genres. The planned Hyrox podcast will include interviews with top athletes, former Olympians, world record holders, adventure explorers, health and lifestyle experts, exercise physiologists, neuroscientists, and more. And the idea is to learn what the best in the world are doing to optimize their performance and, importantly, how our athletes can do the same in this busy world. Okay, so hopefully it's pretty clear why we plan to leverage a video podcast, increase credibility, build bomb-proof rapport with our customers, and immerse your brand into the lives of the world's everyday athletes. But why video podcasting? That's a great question. Before I answer that, let's consider another upside potential of a Hyrox podcast, and that means hearing from the company supporting this episode. Whether you're looking to cut out alcohol for life or just for a night, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your ability to be healthy, active, and at your best to enjoy great beer. This episode is sponsored by the Athletic Beer Company, who produce a range of delicious non-alcoholic beers and are pioneering a craft brew revolution. Giving dry a try? Keep the good times going. Visit athleticbeer.com and use the code HYROX to get 50% off your first month's subscription. So, sponsor advertising spots are a way to pay for the cost of podcast production and distribution, or to even make a profit. But back to the question, why a video podcast? Well, that's easy. Think about some of the top 10 biggest podcasts in the world right now. The Joe Rogan Experience, Call Her Daddy, The Ben Shapiro Show. Whether they're your taste or not isn't the point. They're all video podcasts for a reason. For every single episode they record, they then repurpose that same content across multiple platforms. Sure, it's an audio podcast on the classic channels such as Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and so on, but that same recording can then be used on YouTube, Vimeo, their website. It can be carved up into sound bites and shorts for repurposing on social media as YouTube shorts and adverts. If so desired, each episode can produce 30 pieces of content or more. So that's why we're planning a video podcast. And as is hopefully clear by now, this isn't my first podcasting rodeo. With more than 200 episodes under my sweatband, I have the studio, the format, and the expertise to have some great conversations with some absolute legends that will appeal to Hyrox athletes around the world. So my question to you is this. Will this be an Australian-centric approach, or do you want this to be the official Hyrox podcast? You can control the naming, the production, the branding, the distribution. You can have direct input into the guest list for the show, the subjects covered, the seasonal direction, and more. It seems like a no-brainer from our perspective, but in the spirit of an episode closing, thanks for joining me here today. And if you've enjoyed the show, be sure to go ahead and like it on whichever platform you're on. If you know someone who you think would get something out of this episode, why not share it with them now? if you haven't yet signed up for a Hyrox race, why not go to hyrox.com and find a race near you now? And if you haven't already, follow Hyrox on your preferred social media channels. And with that said, I'll see you in the next episode. Oh, and as a side comment, clearly I'll need to get a Hyrox t-shirt, but I guess I'm competing in Glasgow in February, so I'll grab one then. See ya.